Japanese steelmaker Nippon Steel officially has bought U.S. steel, but there's a catch.
And we have a golden stock, we have a golden share.
Meaning?
That gives you total control. It's 51% ownership by Americans.
What happens when the White House controls a private industry? That's on the next On Point.
Weekdays beginning at 7 on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station, and from BetterHelp, committed to helping clients with issues ranging from relationship challenges and goal setting to grief and depression. Learn more at betterhelp.com/public. And MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
It's Here and Now. Those are the sounds of wild chimpanzees in the Budongo forest of Uganda. Scientists have been studying and filming those chimps and noticed that they seem to be administering a sort of first aid. Wild chimps, like the one we just heard, are specifically seeking out plants with medicinal properties for injuries. And the chimps are not just self-medicating, they also appear to treat one another's wounds. This all comes from research led by primatologist Elodie Fryman. And when I spoke to her in May, I asked her what she was looking for. She studied chimps in Uganda.
So I was in the Budongo forest for a total of 8 months, and my focus was actually on the plants that they were consuming when they were sick. But once I got there and I started spending more time with the chimps, I expanded the scope of the research to include external care behaviors as well.
Okay, so external care behaviors, what do you mean by that? What did you find?
So that refers to behaviors that are topical. Say a chimp is wounded or injured, or say they have a snare that they've been caught in. Once we started really paying attention to how some of these plants were used traditionally in human medicinal knowledge systems, and also which bioactive properties they've been shown in the past to have, we found that several of these plants the chimpanzees are using actually have traditional uses that are specifically relevant to wound healing.
And this is something you noticed, but you also, it seems, incorporated logbook entries from previous studies in the forest going back to the early 90s. Did you notice some patterns in that previous research, and was that not yet published?
Yeah, so I spent 8 months with the chimps, but that's not that much time. So what we did was really open this study up, and there's literally a notebook in the field station where I work, where field staff members, who are the amazing local team that are out with the chimps every day, and they're really the experts and the backbone of primatology, and also researchers that have worked at the site over the last 3 decades, have written down any sort of unusual behaviors that they've observed. And I was noticing all of these entries about wound care behaviors. And so I decided to go through it and collate all of those examples. And I also talked to other researchers who are currently working at the site. And so when all of that information was amalgamated, one of the patterns that popped up, in addition to these self-directed wound care behaviors, we also found 7 different cases of chimpanzees actually helping to treat the wounds or injuries of others in their community.
That is fascinating because, self-medication is one thing, but for a chimp to go out of its way to help another chimp suggests to me something more akin to empathy, right? The capacity to understand or share in the feelings of one another. I am curious what this behavior tells you about chimpanzees' empathy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at first, when I was reading about these cases of what we call pro-social or other-directed care, I assumed they were going to be between mothers and infants, say, or close genetically related kin. But we didn't find that. We found that there was actually lots of cases of chimps helping unrelated members of their community, which, as you said, has sort of more implications for empathy being involved, or some form of attentiveness to the health-related needs of others, and then the ability to transfer the skills that one might apply to oneself to others.
Do you have evidence of whether these empathetic behaviors were learned or whether they were instinctual?
We don't know yet. It's still an open question. What I tend to believe is that there is a mixture of instinct and, genetically encoded tendencies towards certain behaviors. And then there is also mixed in an aspect of social learning. It's likely a mixture, but I think that what's so cool about this topic is that it's still relatively new, the study of animal self-medication and animal, medicine generally, and there's still a lot of open questions in the field that are waiting for researchers to come and look into them more.
Elodie, just listening to you speak reminds me so much of this question that I think many humans have been wondering about for a long time, and that is whether chimps think and feel the way humans do. We share more than 98% of our DNA as humans with chimpanzees. Why is it important to study them?
I think that we have a tendency to think of ourselves as incredibly unique and incredibly more advanced than all of the other non-human animals that we share this planet with. And I think the more we study the behaviors of animals, the more we realize that there are cognitive abilities, there are skill sets, there are toolkits that we have in common with them. We're not as unique as we like to think. That's very humbling. And many animals actually have a lot of knowledge about the natural world that we don't have because we've taken ourselves out of these habitats, and they can lead us to incredible medicinal resources that we might otherwise have never found. So I think that we have to start treating these animals more like our teachers.
Elodie Fryman is a London-based primatologist. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Here and Now is a production of NPR.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2 o'clock p.m. session of Roanoke City Council on July 7th. I'll ask our clerk, Ms. McCoy, to please call the roll.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Here. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Here.
Mr. Nash.
Here.
Mr. Vollison.
Here.
Ms. Powers.
Here.
Mr. Hagan.
Here.
Mayor Cobb.
Here, and a quorum is present. Don't believe I see Reverend Light here this afternoon, so I will offer our invocation and lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I have a brief moment of silence to offer. Would you please stand? I'm going to take a moment of silence to honor the memory of Senator Granger McFarland, who died recently and whose memorial service was held this past week. God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come. Hope seems like such a fleeting and ethereal word, but it is something we hold on to as leaders, as citizens, as people who believe and work for the common good and the greater good. So be with us today as we hold on to hope, as we let it inspire our decisions, as we let it inspire our work together as a community and as a region. And may you bless all that we do together here today. In your loving name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Powers, would you be willing to certify our closed meeting, please?
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened, was heard, discussed, or considered by the members of council in attendance.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Volleson. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Vollison.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the motion passes. The Council of the City of Roanoke is seeking applications for various vacancies on council-appointed authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. We encourage all citizens interested in applying to visit the city's website at roanokeva.gov to complete an online application. We move now to our presentations and acknowledgments, and we'll begin with our council shout-outs, and I'm going to start with Mr. Hagan this time. And this is an opportunity for us as council members to highlight some things we've experienced, seen, some exciting and good things in the city over the last couple of weeks.
So my shouts to the public libraries for this week. Cupcakes with Council. Yes! Yep. So they do Cupcakes with Council with all of us individually, and was able to chat with some people, which I'm sure you'll hear about just shortly. But shout out to them. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
I just want to piggyback on what Nick said. It was a great time to spend time with community members and voice their concerns. So it was really nice. And I found out that most people prefer grape juice as opposed to any other.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I will give a few quick shout-outs just to everyone that helped make sure that Roanoke had a nice July 4th holiday, so everyone that helped with all of the events down at River's Edge and the fireworks and all of the public safety and parks staff and just everyone that helped pull that off. Thank you. I heard a lot of great feedback, and I know my family, we enjoyed getting together and watching the fireworks, so thank you. I also had a blast at the flotilla yesterday. It was an informal event that a lot of folks gather for annually. If you missed it, come out next year. It's a great way to check out the Roanoke River with a lot of other people and get outside and experience that. And I also want to thank everyone that helped with the Washington Park celebration this weekend, 102 years in Booker T. Washington National Park. Appreciate Parks and Rec staff that helped pull that off and everyone in the community that participated. I was glad to stop by that. So thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Nash?
I'll copy the words of Vice Mayor McGuire. I attended the Friends of Washington Park 102nd celebration. It was a good event. I really like how they, utilized the full lower level of the park to show how big it is. And how much potential is there. And so I thank them for that. And then 2 weeks ago, I got to throw out the first pitch at the Salem Red Sox game for Humble Hustle. They did a heritage game partnership. So I got to throw out the first pitch. I threw it from the mound to the base, so good for me. But I'm very thankful. Just want to shout out Xavier Duckett, Austin Bratton, Humble Hustle, and all of the events that they do, all of the not your average events, because I believe things like that are what help make Roanoke a viable, livable, and enjoyable place, especially for younger people. So shout out to them.
Thank you. Mr. Vollison?
My shout out is for Virginia's 250th. That's why I've got their lapel pin on. We were benefactors at our July 3rd fireworks, and that they helped us with about 20 minutes of fireworks to add on, excuse me, to the cities. So I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for their mobile museum that they brought to the event as well. And it is now the 250th year of the United States, and so there will be more events going on throughout the year that Virginia's 250 that will be hosting. So I look forward to what will be coming down the pike from them.
Thank you. Ms. Powers?
Yes, and I ditto everything that all the other six say, but I also want to say, as we closed out another year of our great city, and here we are faced with another fiscal year, I want to shout out to all of our city departments and everything that you do to make our city so great. I noticed this past week, it seemed like everybody in my neighborhood decided they were going to clean out their yard and chop down trees and do all this stuff. So I thought, man, they're really going to have a lot to do come Wednesday. But let me tell you, they came through there and cleaned that place up, and there wasn't a drop, a leaf, nothing left on the street. So we should all be very proud of the departments that we have in our city, and I thank you very much for everything that you do. So good luck to each department as we face another year. Thank you.
Well, I want to give echo everything you all said, and just really elaborate on what our departments do. I was talking with our events coordinator. I don't exactly know what Kelsey's title is. Is it events coordinator? Yeah. Well, she indicated to me that here we are mid-year, a calendar year, and we already have 180 events. Most of the public doesn't know that the city works with organizers, event organizers, for well over 300 events every year. And that's a very complex system that has a lot of moving pieces. And this last week, not only was the Miss Virginia pageant going on, which had one of the largest crowd attendance that it's ever had, and so we're so glad it's back in Roanoke, but on the same night and weekend, we had the car show downtown, which required some street blockages. We had the Star City Slide, which required the closing of a bridge, but a lot of people loved the water slide. And then we had the Great Race, the Great American Car Race, come through with vintage cars that were traveling from up north in, I think, Minnesota down to South Carolina, and there were over 100 cars that came through as a stopping place. So all of these, I share all of these things because they were happening concurrently. And they weren't happening just because they happened. They were happening because of the incredible organization that takes place to make them happen. So I'm really glad that we're going to be celebrating Parks and Recreation Week because you all play a primary role in making this happen, but so do all of our other city departments because it's not just the making sure that the events are coordinated well, but that we keep public safety in mind, first responders in mind, road blockages, all of those things. So thank you all for that. And I also want to give a shout out to the staff at the Washington Park Pool. I was there Saturday for the 102nd anniversary party of the park, and I walked over to the pool because it's the first time I've really been able to see it up close. And while I was there, there was, they had to call Fire-EMS for an incident, and the staff was amazing. You would not have known that anything was really happening that was serious because of how professional the staff was and how thoughtful all of the people in the water park were, and everything just ran very smoothly. So kudos to you all for that. All right, well, speaking of Parks and Recreation, let's celebrate a month. Sandy, I'll meet you down at the podium.
And my entire cast.
Come on up.
I brought the whole gang.
Well, and some of you can come over here too. Yeah. We're going to start here and we're going to end up over there. So. All right. All right. Whereas Parks and Recreation are an integral part of communities throughout this country, promoting health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. Whereas active living experiences provide opportunities for young people to grow and develop into contributing members of society, and for adults to create continuous life experiences. Whereas park and recreation programming and education activities, such as after-school and summer programming, youth sports, and environmental education, are critical to childhood development. Whereas parks and recreation agencies provide outlets for physical activities, socialization, and stress-reducing experiences, and generate opportunities for members of the community to come together through fun-filled recreational pursuits. Whereas parks, playgrounds, sport fields, nature trails, open spaces, community and cultural centers make communities attractive and desirable places to live, work, play, and visit. Whereas parks and recreation contribute to a community's economic vitality through increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks, greenways, and open spaces provide a welcome respite from our fast-paced, high-tech lifestyles while protecting and preserving the natural environment. And whereas parks and recreation agencies touch the lives of individuals, families, groups, and the entire community by positively impacting the social, economic, health, and environmental quality of the community. Now, therefore, I, Joseph L. Cobb, Mayor of the City of Roanoke, encourage all citizens to engage in active living, to find rejuvenation and vitality, and to hereby proclaim the month of July 2025 throughout this great 8-time All-America City as Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of City Council, Ms. Turner. On behalf of the entire Parks and Recreation Department, I want to express our sincere appreciation for this proclamation and for your ongoing support. July is a time to recognize the vital role Parks and Recreation play in creating healthier, more connected communities. We remain committed to creating spaces and experiences that enrich the lives of all residents. Thank you for recognizing the impact of Parks and Recreation, not just this month, but all year long. We're proud of the spaces we're building, but even more proud of the welcoming, active community that's grown around them. The impact we make is a direct result of the dedication and hard work of our incredible staff. From maintaining our parks to running programs that bring joy and opportunity to all residents of all ages, they show up every day with purpose and pride. I'd like to recognize some of them now and have them introduce themselves. Thank you.
Thanks so much. My name's Kat Andrew. I'm the Outdoor Recreation Coordinator.
I'm Samantha Dickinson. I'm the Business Coordinator.
I'm Dylan Kelly. I'm Outdoor Recreation Supervisor.
I'm Ian McKinney. I'm also Outdoor Rec Supervisor.
I'm Tim Polly-Thomas, and I'm the Events Coordinator.
Chris Stanger, Athletic Supervisor. I'm Vicki Briggs, the oldest one there, and I am the Special Events Rental Supervisor.
Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Massey. I am the Community Recreation Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Pat Davitt. I'm the GIS Specialist.
Good afternoon, I'm Laura Riley. I'm the Parks Manager.
Hello, I'm Sam Matson, the Urban Forestry Supervisor.
I'm Bill West. I'm the Urban Forestry Coordinator.
Thank you all. I'm Christian Crawley, Landscape Designer.
Hi, I'm Max Cardwell. I'm a college intern under Mr. Hardy.
Hey, my name is Danny Horn Jr., and I am a city intern with the Parks and Rec.
And I'm Milton Hardy Jr. I am the Athletics Coordinator and Youth Development.
So before we take a photo, council, any of you like to share anything with our Parks and Rec department? Yeah.
I don't have a favorite department, but if I did, it would be the rec department. I love you all and really appreciate all you do for our city, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for everything.
Thank you.
All right, let's get a photo.
We're going to have to
scooch in
quite a bit. Powers, can I get you to move a skosh? Thank you. I want to make sure we see you too. Okay. All right. Everybody's in. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Hold on, Carol. We gotta open this up.
Okay. One more time. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all.
Big groups, I now have to go.
Okay, we're going to move ahead in our agenda to the hearing of citizens upon public matters. City Council sets this time as a priority for citizens to be heard. All matters will be referred to the city manager for response, recommendation, or report to the council as she may deem appropriate. Madam Clerk, do we have citizens signed up to speak today?
We have 2 citizens.
Great.
They are Frida Cathcart, followed by Victor Banks.
Wonderful. And you will each have 5 minutes. Ms. Cathcart, welcome.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here as my capacity of the District Director, serving Roanoke City on the Soil and Water Conservation Board, and I can have a favorite department in the city, and that is Parks and Recreation. So I was really glad to be here to see the proclamation and them receive their kudos that they rightly deserve. I'm here about a continuing concern that I voiced before at City Council, but today I think is a really important day to remind Council about the concerns I've raised before in the past and about continuing concerns. And that has to do with our flood resiliency and what happened this past weekend in Texas. And not just in Texas, but here in Virginia, where on South Side, there was a place that got almost 6 inches of rain. Fortunately, there was not catastrophic flooding there. But I really discourage people from using this 100-year floodplain. We don't know. The weather's just becoming too unpredictable where it gets hung up in certain places and you get suddenly this wall of water that's been built up that does so much devastation and costs so many lives when we're not in a place where we can respond quickly and get notices out to get people out of danger. Now, before in the past, I've come here and warned City Council about the loss of our tree canopy and how it affects our flood resiliency, especially Zero Brandon, in which we've lost our woods there. That is gone. That was some very important flood resiliency, and those woodlands have been wiped out. I'm very concerned about the talk about the Housing Authority developing the property across from Washington Park, where there's woods along the YMCA. On the other side of the hill, I think probably could be developed without causing undue strain if it's done wisely with a hydrologist and the proper planning. I think that there is places for housing. And I do realize that those lots across from Washington Park were originally single-family homes zoned that way. And they're not the best trees that are planted there, but they are there, and they are providing resiliency from the heat island effect right now, as well as flood resiliency. Now, I'm not a hydrologist. I read hydrologist reports and listen to their reports. They're really, really important. And what hydrologists do is they look at the lay of the land, and they can tell, like, underneath, like, what the water table is and where it can converge, where it comes out of springs, it becomes creeks and streams, and then how it combines and how that relates to flood resiliency. Those are the experts that do that, not me. I do come from an insurance background, and I can tell you I have a lot of experience in processing claims of tragedies and why it makes a difference. It's really sad to hear that the place where the camp was and the town that had all that flooding this past weekend had talked about getting an alert system, kind of like blaring horns like they do with Tornado Alley, and they thought it cost the town too much. You cannot put a price on human life, and we do need to step up to this moment to make sure that people are protected. Roanoke City, unfortunately, was built on top of wetlands. That's our downtown. We are built on top of wetlands. We are very susceptible to flooding downtown. And in every piece of urban planning, when future projects come up, there needs to be an analysis by a hydrologist to look and see how that's going to alter things and how that's going to make it hard to prevent flooding. And it's not like we haven't had a catastrophe here in '85. And good work was done at that time to prevent catastrophic flooding from happening. It worked for us in 2018. But if we remove the tree canopy that's providing the flood resiliency, we're going to end up with a catastrophic tragedy here where there will be loss of human life. And I keep coming down here. I feel like I could just record myself and come down again and play it again. But I really would like to see there being a hydrologist involved with urban planning when these things come up. It seems like when I go to urban planning meetings, there's a lot of people that are involved with development and real estate, but I'm not seeing the part talking about the environment and the impact on that and the higher risk to exposure. So I feel like such a Debbie Downer when I come down here and talk to you guys about this, but it's real. And there's things that we can do now to be proactive to protect people. So I just wanted to come down and remind you about that. And I'm a resource. I also wanted to say thank you for your support for the Blue Ridge Soil and Water Conservation. We do know about that as district directors, and we do definitely appreciate when the localities support our efforts, and we try and do our best to support you back. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Cathcart. Mr. Banks, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is Victor Banks, and I serve as the president of Melrose Athletic Club, which is a nonprofit that operates Champs Gym, which is operated in Roanoke for over 50 years now. Champs Gym was founded in 1972 by my uncles Ernest Champ Cabler, James Cabler, and Alfred Cabler, all U.S. Army veterans and lifelong community servants to the city. In 2022, This very council recognized their history and impact by proclaiming November the 19th as Champs Gym Day, and we're truly grateful for that recognition. Today, we are preparing to move Champs Gym into the next chapter. We have been gifted a commercial property where we plan to build a 7,500 square foot facility for boxing and a community facility that will allow us to expand mentorship, physical fitness training, and violence prevention efforts for our youth and our families that we serve. But before we break ground, we need to start phase one of our project, which will be demolition of the existing building at an estimated cost of around $50,000, which includes environmental compliance and site preparation. We are actively fundraising and working with partners to make this happen. And we are presently asking that the city consider ways that they might assist us, whether through permitting guidance, infrastructure coordination, or other forms of support that can help us get this moving forward. Champs Gym has a bunch of active youth that we're keeping off the streets, and they're learning the art of boxing the right way, and also we're teaching them holistic values like when we travel, how to go to restaurants and how to conduct ourselves. And we also have kids that compete, and they're competing at a very high level. We have two 15-year-olds that were state junior Olympic champions from last year, as well as Chris Dunn, who won the Virginia, North Carolina state Golden Gloves and was named most outstanding boxer of that tournament. And he went on to win the regional Golden Gloves and qualify for nationals. And our competitors range from age 8 on up. And I just thank you for this time to talk to you before council, and I've included a package which each of you should have one that's more detailed in what we do and our history, and I appreciate the time to come before you, and hopefully we can dialogue and work together to make all of this happen.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. Are you able to share where the property is that you currently?
The property is located on Melrose Avenue, 1627 Melrose Avenue, and it has just been gifted to the Melrose Athletic Club. And we have already started fundraising efforts to raise money for phase one, which is the demolition. So hopefully we'll get that done by sometime in the fall.
Thank you. And I see in the packet you've included a floor plan of what the inside would look like.
Yes.
That's exciting. You all have made a lot of progress on this.
Yes.
Does council have any questions? Well, thank you for coming and sharing this. This is a great presentation. I'm excited to hear about the progress you're making. And thank you for pointing out particular ways that we can work with you all. And we'll stay in touch with the city manager to see how we can help you all move forward with this exciting project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for having me.
Is that all of our speakers today?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we'll move to our consent agenda, and all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by members of council and will be enacted by one motion. Generally, there will be no separate discussion of the items, but if discussion is desired, the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. I'll ask for a motion and a second on approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Hagan and Mr. Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones is out. Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the motion passes. Next item is public hearings, and we do have one public hearing today, and that is to receive public comment and vote on proposed amendments to the city's HUD, Housing and Urban Development Citizen Participation Plan. There's one measure, a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion and a second on the resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Volleson and Mr. Hagan. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, I'll ask you to read the title paragraph.
A resolution approving amendments to the City of Roanoke's United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Citizen Participation Plan and authorizing the city manager or designee to submit the amended Citizen Participation Plan to HUD for final review and approval, and authorizing the execution of all necessary documents pertaining to the amended Citizen Participation Plan.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
Yes, so the Citizen Participation Plan is what HUD requires that we do to ensure that with all of our funding that we have participation from our residents. So the changes that were made, the last change was done in 2022. The changes that we're making here, for the most part, is to ensure that we're able to save money by, instead of doing print, that we can actually do these notices online, so electronically. And so that's one of the major changes. And so it sets for a 15-day public comment period. We advertise, we put all of our plans around the city, so there are multiple locations that our residents can go to review the plan, make comments. They can send the comments to us electronically, or if they want to come, they can even come in and give us comments verbally. Also, that we can make sure that they're at the table while we are discussing the HUD funds.
Thank you. And I know also Jillian Papa is here, Director of Planning, Building, and Development, in case we have any questions for her. So I'm going to open the public hearing. And Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens wishing to be heard?
No, sir.
Okay. Now we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? Ms. Powers?
So when you put this information online, what about people that don't have access to computers? How would they hear about this, or how will they find out about these changes?
Welcome, Ms. Papa.
Hi, thank you. I don't think I could have said it better than Ms. Turner, just in terms of the access to the city's plans relative to funding. We provide for those specifically physical copies in various public places, including all of the city's libraries. And so this change narrowly just changes the legal notice, which is just a small part of the overall participation. So we do make available staff in person to be available to meet with citizens, to hear their concerns, as well as physical copies in person, available at various public locations, as Ms. Turner just spoke to. I hope that
Something that could go on RVTV, because I know a lot of older people watch RVTV.
Yes, I mean, we do advertisements on RVTV as well. So, I mean, it's just not, we're not limiting it. It's just to make sure that when we get more word out, because we also have a large population that only reads things electronically as well. So we just want to make sure that we're doing what we can to get more comments.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from council? I do have just one other question. So if I'm coming in, if I want to make a public comment, where do I do that? How do I go about doing that?
So there's several ways. So they can make a public comment in writing, meaning they can email. So there's an email address that's always attached to our notices. They can come in and meet with staff, and we can take their comments that way. So we try to make it as broad as possible because we really want them to participate, because we're making a lot of decisions on what we're going to do with the money, and we want to make sure we hear from them.
So what is the email address that they want to send?
planning@roanokeva.gov. We'll be collecting public comment through that email address, as well as a phone number, 540-853-1730. I was about to say my direct line, just to have it. You could do that too. But just to match the planning@roanokeva.gov, our main planning office number, that's 540-853-1730. And you can reach the very kind and helpful planning staff, and we will accept your public comment there.
All right, thank you. All right, not seeing any more questions or comments, Madam Clerk, if you will, please, do we need to take action on this now?
Yes.
Okay,
Please.
if you'll please call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you.
Comments?
Next, we'll move on to petitions and communications, and the first is an acceptance and appropriation of the fiscal year '26 School Resource Officer Grant. We have one ordinance, and I need a motion and a second on the ordinance, please.
Move the ordinance.
All right, thank you, Mr. Volleson, Mr. Hagan. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes. I'm sorry. Getting there. An ordinance authorizing acceptance of the FY '26 School Resource Officer Grant made to the City of Roanoke Sheriff's Office by the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services, and authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city, appropriating 2025 through 2026 grant funds detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. And we have someone here from the Sheriff's Office, and would you please remind me?
Brandon Young.
Brandon,
I'm
thank
the
you.
Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office.
If you'd like to speak to this for us.
Sure. On May 28th, the Sheriff's Office received a grant award. The total grant package is $713,468. That does involve $471,745 from grant funds, with the remainder being a local match that'll be provided by Roanoke City Public Schools.
Thank you. All right, any discussion by council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Aye. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Next, we have a presentation of the Project Lifesaver Program. Sergeant Timothy Young, Roanoke City Sheriff's Department, is here to make the presentation, and this is sponsored by council members Sanchez Jones and Hagan. Welcome, Sergeant Young.
Thank you, Mayor Cobb. Get the stuff out here. And again, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, City Council members, City Manager, Turner. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you all about our Project Lifesaver program. The idea for me to come and present this program came about after Ms. Sanchez-Jones and I had a conversation back in March after we had received some media coverage from one of our local news stations about the Project Lifesaver program. That was done in conjunction with what we had just had as what we refer to as a live search for one of our Project Lifesaver clients, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. So I want to spend just a few minutes this afternoon and give you an overview of what the Project Lifesaver program is, and also what we are doing as the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office with the Project Lifesaver program. Project Lifesaver's definition, as you see here, is Project Lifesaver is a program of proactive involvement and specialized operations that responds to incidents of victims of cognitive disorders that have wandered from a safe location and cannot find their way back to safety. Whenever I have an opportunity to talk to folks about the Project Lifesaver program, I like to simplify things and simply say Project Lifesaver is the organization that provides first responder agencies with the training and the equipment to help them locate people with cognitive disabilities who have wandered away from care. These folks could be our adult population with dementia, Alzheimer's, or even our children population, or even adults with autism, Down syndrome, and we actually have a couple clients that are on the program in Roanoke City that have suffered a traumatic brain injury, who also have the tendencies that we speak of, where they would have a tendency to wander away from care and not be able to find their way back to safety. So Project Lifesaver got started in Chesapeake, Virginia. The Chesapeake Police Department they're the ones that initiated the research based off of the experiences that they were having with searches, and primarily you see there with the second piece, the most exhaustive searches that they were involved in were patients with Alzheimer's. The searches lasted for days, were much, much more difficult than some of the other types of searches that they would have. And also the fact that a lot of times the subjects that they were searching for would never be found. So the conventional searches, as we speak of, they were having to utilize a lot of expenditures in staffing the searches, having the officers and the volunteers, the folks out there actually doing the live search. Of course, that is time and money for the agencies that were having to pay for that. And a lot of times with the resources that were utilized with these searches, again, the results were not always good. So Captain Gene Saunders of the Chesapeake Police Department back then, and also a member of the 43rd Virginia Search and Rescue Team, he got the idea of utilizing an electronic transmitter to be able to track and locate people who have wandered away from care. This idea actually came from using a very, very similar technology with tracking animals that have wandered away from care. If you know of anybody that is an avid hunter, a bear hunter, a lot of times they have a lot of expense in their dogs, and they put electronic transmitters on their dogs, so once they have wandered off, they would be able to locate the dog in a timely manner. So the idea came from using a tracking device that was successful in tracking animals to also be utilized in tracking people. So after the technology was developed, with the trial run of this, the basic concept was tested in North Carolina. They took the transmitters and they placed them on 12 people who had a history and who had a tendency to wander away from care, a risk of wandering, as you see there. In the year time that they tested the program, all 12 of the individuals that were wearing the transmitter, were wearing the device, then all 12 of them did indeed wander away from care, and all 12 of them were found utilizing the Project Lifesaver program, the Project Lifesaver equipment. All 12 of them were found within 30 minutes. And if you think about that, that's remarkable. Just imagine somebody that you care for, a loved one, a family member, someone that you know, they've wandered away from care. 30 minutes doesn't sound like a long time, but when we're talking about the safety and well-being of someone with one of the cognitive disabilities, certainly time is of the essence in trying to recover that person in a timely manner. So that is what I like to tell folks is Project Lifesaver's claim to fame, and I'll touch on that here in just a little bit as well. Also, with the successful searches in North Carolina with the test program, they were able to utilize just the 2 pieces of equipment and 2 officers to do the search. As we said on one of the previous screens, is a lot of times when we use a traditional search method to go looking for someone who has wandered away from care, for someone who is lost, then again, we tie up a lot of people, we tie up a lot of resources. These searches were successful, again, with just the 2 officers utilizing the equipment that go along with the program. Chief Saunders is the founder and chief executive officer. He is still in the Chesapeake, Virginia area. Project Lifesaver just last year in 2024 celebrated their 25th anniversary. So this is something that is tried and true. It is successful. We'll see with some of the other facts that I'll give you here in just a minute, but certainly for them to be able to offer this program for the last 25 years to benefit the families of folks that have someone with the cognitive disability that has the tendency to wander away from care, it certainly is well worth the time and effort to put into the program. I'm certainly thankful for Sheriff Hash's commitment to this. Sheriff Hash has been a supporter of the Project Lifesaver program even prior to him becoming the sheriff of Roanoke City, and I'll mention that again in just a minute. So Project Lifesaver today, they have over 1,870 member agencies, they call it. They are in all 50 of the states. They have gone international, not just in Canada, but also in other countries around the world. Since their beginning in 1999, they have had over 4,470 rescues that have taken place. Again, on average, these 4,400 plus rescues were all successful, meaning they found the person who was on the program who had wandered away from care, and again, an average time of about 30 minutes. As far as Roanoke is concerned, the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office, we have been a member agency since 2017. Right now, we have 43 certified electronic search specialists, again, including Sheriff Hash. He went through the training process and the certification process when he was a deputy with the Sheriff's Office. The process for an officer to be certified as an electronic search specialist is, it's a 2-day class that they have to go through, 8 hours classroom instruction, and then the second day come back for the hands-on piece, the practical exercise, and the written exam. So we do have 43 within the agency, the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office, who have completed that, have successfully completed the certification class. Right now, we currently have 74 active clients. It's about a 60-40 split, being that 60% of our client base are students in the Roanoke City public schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. The other 40% of our client base are the adults that are on the program as well. In 2023, we enrolled 12 new clients. In 2024, we enrolled 20 new clients. Already this year, we have enrolled 11. That should tell you that folks are seeing what is available through the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office with the Project Lifesaver program. We are trying to get the word out to the citizens of Roanoke City that would benefit from this, and certainly we have sparked an interest in the folks, and they are very, very gracious of us offering this program to their families. As far as the actual searches are concerned, in 2023, the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office assisted the Roanoke City Police Department with 3 searches for someone who was on the Project Lifesaver program. In 2024, we had 5 searches that we assisted with, and then we have already had 8 this year. And again, all 8 of those have been or were successful searches where the folks had wandered away from care on the program, and we were able to utilize the equipment, the resources that we have to be able to find them and to find them in a timely manner. In order for someone to be considered for the Project Lifesaver program, there are 4 pieces of criteria. The first one is they have to be a city resident, a resident of Roanoke City, of course. They must have a cognitive disability that we recognize that a person might have that, again, gives them the tendencies to wander away from care. They must have a record or documented history of wandering, and that mostly comes from our calls into our E911 center for missing persons. And then, you know, after the call is reviewed and everything is documented, we accept those. We have documentation that we receive in our Roanoke City Public Schools where they have students that have a tendency to bolt out the door. So we do look for a record or some documented history of wandering, because not everybody with those cognitive disabilities have that tendency to wander. But we certainly want to give attention to those that are beginning to show that. And then they must also be supervised 24/7. The reason that is, and I'm sure you can imagine, with our adult population, a lot of the folks with dementia, a lot of our folks with Alzheimer's, they're not cared for around the clock. Unfortunately, families aren't able to provide that care. It is essential because we need to know immediately when that person has wandered away from care. So if they're sitting home during the afternoon by themselves and they are able to get out the door and they're gone for 2 and 3, maybe 4 hours before it's discovered that they have wandered from care, then it almost makes the program ineffective for us to be able to utilize the equipment to find them. So that is one of the criteria that we put on the families when we enroll. They have to be under supervision. They have to be under care for 24/7. If they meet the criteria, then we provide the application and a contract for them. They fill out the paperwork, and if they are approved, then we have the transmitters that we are able to give to that family immediately at their request. As far as the equipment's concerned, I'm just wanting to highlight the main pieces of the equipment. The transmitter is the piece that the client wears, that the person wears. They wear this 24/7. Each one of these transmitters have a pre-programmed radio frequency that's on the 216 megahertz frequency. Okay? The receiver is what is receiving the transmission or the signal from the transmitter. This is what is receiving the signal, and this is what our officers and deputies use in order to track this as it's being worn by the client. And of course, each of these take batteries. There's antennas, the batteries and bands. The other pieces that you see listed there are just the other pieces of equipment that are a part of the program. But the main 2 pieces are the transmitter and the receiver. Again, the transmitter has a pre-programmed frequency. It's all radio frequency. The RF system is certainly a tried and true system that's been used for things such as this or communications for years, as you know. We have either a 30-day or a 60-day transmitter, and that is basically how long this would last before we would have to put another battery in this. So part of the program is I have a team of people who go out every 30 days or 60 days and change the batteries in the transmitters of the folks that are on the program. The receiver, again, is just simply the piece of equipment that receives the signal from the transmitter. And the way that that works is, again, we have a pre-programmed frequency of the transmitter. We dial that in to the receiver. We do all the checks of the equipment and everything, and then the receiver is receiving the signal from the transmitter, and as we tell our folks in the training, the process is we follow the chirp. We follow the signal using the receiver to locate the transmitter, which again would be attached to the client. This is Chief Saunders' conclusion to his piece to this, and that is Project Lifesaver's mission and goals are to protect those who wander and become lost. Project Lifesaver is always researching and testing new concepts and evaluating new products to protect an ever-increasing population at risk of wandering. Their mission is to save lives. Now, before I actually get into the questions from you all, I have also included a flyer of our big fundraiser event that is coming up in August the 23rd at the Berglund Center. As I said, this is our big event to raise the money to support the program. Right now, we are able to offer the Project Lifesaver program to the families of Roanoke City who have someone who meets the criteria. We are able to offer that at no cost to the family. And that includes the maintenance of the batteries and vans at no cost to them as well. So help get the word out of our fundraiser that is coming up. It will be a car show and a craft show, and we'll have a lot of other things that will be taking place that day as well. And then I've also included the brochure that we would use to give information out to the public on what the program is and what the Sheriff's Office is doing with the program. We have plenty of those available. Certainly share it with someone if you know of someone that would benefit from this, would be interested in this. Those are available, of course, through my office or through the Sheriff's Office as well. But I also want to add one more thing. Sheriff Hash and Tamika Page, our PIO, and myself, we're going to have an opportunity in August, just so happens to be the day after our big event. We are flying to Orlando to take part in the National Project Lifesaver Conference. Ms. Page and I are going to have an opportunity to sit on a discussion panel to talk to other agencies about the success that we have had with the program, and also with how much of an important role that she plays in the program. And you know she does a wonderful job with getting the information out to the public about the Sheriff's Office, and certainly she plays a vital role in this. She's actually one of our certified electronic search specialists as well. So thank you for your time, and certainly I would entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much for that great presentation. I'm going to turn first to Councilmember Sanchez Jones and Hagan for any follow-up you'd like to offer.
Well, I just want to say thank you for making the public aware of the program. So thank you very much.
And thank you for your interest to prompt this. Yes.
Yeah, I remember my friend Linda searching for her father. Her father had Alzheimer's, and she would spend hours looking for him. So that brought me lots of memories. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, just to reiterate, thank you so much.
Well, this is such a great program.
I think it is.
My mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and prior to fully knowing that she had Alzheimer's, she was wandering while driving, and which was terrifying. After the fact, that she made it home safely was a miracle. Do you all collaborate with the local senior care communities that have dedicated memory care, or just the senior care communities in general about this program?
Yes, we do, and we get quite a few references from the folks that are working with the families from the different agencies that you're referring to. So yes, and you know, we consider them community partners in the program with us, but yes.
Great. Yeah. And a question about the range of transmission and receiver. Is that citywide through the radio system, or is it more?
No, with the strength of the equipment that we have here, the bench test from Project Lifesaver is from 1 to 3 miles, depending on terrain, depending on the atmosphere, just some factors that could come into deflecting the signal from the transmitter to the receiver. But still yet, if you think about it, for someone who has wandered away from home, 1 mile away, that's too far. 2 miles away, 3 miles away, so we're very, very successful. Now, the way that you see this right here, that's how we would utilize this in a ground search. We have the capability of also doing mobile search with this. We have a couple, what we call omnidirectional antennas that go on the top of our cars, and we're able to plug that into the receiver and do a mobile search as well. We're more successful. I wouldn't say more successful. We've had more successful searches using the mobile search than we have with the ground search, but certainly both are effective.
Are you able to utilize any drone technology?
You know,
And
with
this
the
is
Roanoke
all-
City Police Department having the drone, I'm waiting on the next opportunity to be able to call them out for that. I think that would be a great idea. I've tried to talk Colonel Young into buying us one at the sheriff's office, but certainly, yes, that would be a great tool to have.
Great.
Certainly.
Ms. Powers?
On your brochure here, is there a way online to make donations if we'd like to make a donation to her?
Yes,
Is it
absolutely, and
online?
thank you for that. Certainly, there is a link on the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office website for information, and I would think that that would include also the capability of
I'll be sure
receiving.
to give this to my kids, so when I get older, they'll know what to do. They keep telling me I'm going to wander off.
Other questions or comments from council? Yeah, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say also thank you very much for the information, and I guess I had a question. I have spoken to some teachers in some of our classrooms that work with special needs students where they're encouraging parents to take advantage of this program, and I was wondering, how do you communicate this opportunity out? Is it through the SROs at the schools, or is there some, how are we getting this out so that, and encouraging parents that have kids who, especially that have track records of running?
Yes.
How are we kind of making sure to regularly remind them of it and encourage them to sign up?
Well, as I said, 60% of our client base are students in the Roanoke City Public Schools, so we have done well in getting the information on the program out. And to answer your question, yes, our school resource officers are very well versed in the program. Several of them, probably 15 out of the 17 that we had, are electronic search specialists, and of course with the number of Roanoke City Public Schools, the elementary schools, well, not just the elementary, the middle schools and high schools as well, that have the specialized programs for those students. Yes, we take every opportunity. Word of mouth is the best, as you can imagine, and certainly we get a lot of referrals from the teachers, the folks that work with those students, just as we do, as I said, from the other means as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We'll do our part to try to get the word out as well.
Please do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Sergeant John. We
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
And good luck in August.
Oh, thank you. I hope to see you there.
Next, we'll move on to our reports of city officers and the city manager, and we have one briefing this afternoon, and I'll call on our city manager to introduce the briefing.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council, the city's finance director, Ms. Margaret Lindsay, will be presenting the budget and actual revenue and expenditure for May 2025.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of council, Ms. Turner. Margaret Lindsay, Director of Finance, and my monthly few numbers for you and a couple of comments. I do want to just start by saying this is the May 31st information, and so what you adjusted our budget for fiscal '25 with the June 16th council meeting will not be impacted on these numbers just yet. So that just keep that in the back of your mind. I do have one other comment going forward for that. So these are the revenues. First slide always is our tax base. I want to start at the very top. One of the ones that has been keeping our treasurer's office very busy in the month of early June was collection for personal property tax. In speaking with Ms. Burkett earlier, I guess actually the end of last week, she reminded me the payment deadline was June 2nd. So at May 31, it's not uncommon to only see the 21.7 million of our budgeted 32.7. First of all, people who may have been like myself and put it in the drop box on June 2nd, those would still have to be opened, a very nicely sealed envelope with a check, and then processed as well. So for those folks who choose to still use regular mail, all of that comes flying in at the end towards the deadline. And so generally speaking, 2, maybe even 3 weeks before every single drop of on-time items are in through the system. So with the June numbers, we will of course have a big update for that. I do want to make a remark on sales tax. We have a budget of $29.9 million, and we are sitting through May at 21.7, a little bit more than that. That is 9 months of collections. The money that comes in June is month 10, month 11 is July, and month 12 is August, because there's a 2-month lag from what the state sends, and that's same as every year. I do want to comment that I want July and August, we have June in, of course, to have nice little bump ups for me so that we will come in right at budget or slightly over. Currently, we are tracking a little bit lower if we look at the average. Now, as, excuse me, May and June come around, some maybe early vacations, maybe some more events in our area will bring more sales tax revenue, and so we may very well have some increases for that. So we are certainly watching. If the average amount comes in for July and August, we will be slightly under our budget in sales tax. And then one other very nice performer for us is our business and occupational licenses tax. I will comment, though, that that is a combination of current and delinquent collections, and kudos to between Commissioner of Revenue's office and their assessments and Treasurer's office and their collectors. Our delinquent business license tax has exceeded its budget by almost $900,000 this year. So that's a huge favorable impact to us. I won't say that that's a one-time wonder for us, but it's not something I would necessarily plan to have on a year-over-year basis. But we'll certainly take it when we get it. The last one I want to just make a comment is bank stock. It may look a little anemic at May 31st, but those assessments go out and are paid during the months generally of May and June. And so again, we have the bulk of that to come in June, and we'll see how that turns out with our next presentation.
Ms. Lindsay.
Yeah, Mr. Paulson.
Just real quick, could you look at the recordation and probate taxes? I noticed that those are relatively low. Is that still because of low transactions in real estate, or have we?
Yeah, and I will look more thoroughly and get a note back to you all, but what I had seen in the last 2 years and also in prior jurisdiction was a cooling of primarily property transfers, and again tied to housing markets, and which is of course tied to interest rate, which is still for 30-year mortgages to me very high. So I'm not surprised at this, and we may certainly need to review and moderate our fiscal 26 expectations of revenues. Of course, it's a little early for that as well, but that's my understanding and what I have seen in other news sources and so forth. But I'm not aware of any specific item that we had in 24 comparatively that we don't have this year.
Okay. Thank you.
So our non-local taxes, really having a right snazzy year. Our fines and forfeitures are slightly higher than prior year, and will certainly, unless something strange happens in June, exceed our budgeted amount. We all know revenue from the use of money and property, our interest income and investments and so forth, is having again a really good year on a conservatively estimated budget, in part because of knowing we were going to be spending down the ARPA funds that we've enjoyed. Grants and Aid Commonwealth, again, is ahead, and that is most likely from a timing perspective. The state releases the funds as we make reimbursements on our grants, and then ratably sends us our stated amounts, such as compensation board reimbursements. Charges for services are nicely ahead also of prior year, and so again, those are not exactly ratable, even though you might think they are. It's a little bit seasonal depending on what services are being provided. Expenditures, again, the two things on this, the adjustments to budget will hit in the next presentation. So where you see health and welfare with being in excess of the budget currently, that will change with the June presentation and the posting of the additional funds that we were able to allocate there. In part, the $8.1 million from the state, and then some portion of the local revenue as well. We do have, and I just wanted to remind, I know all of you know the 60-day rule, so the numbers that are in here and that will be in the June presentation that I will make the first meeting in August, we will still be looking at each item that we pay and saying, does it belong in 25 or is it part of the new year? So until we hit the end of August, and that's the cutoff at 60 days, we can't really say we have all of our expenditures in. They stop moving except for odds and ends, generally by middle part of August, but we can't say we're done until we get through about the middle of September for any stragglers. And then the last couple of slides are what you will see every month. First, overtime, just as for the month to date, the current period expenditures are by department that had any overtime. And not unexpectedly, our public safety, police, fire operations, and the jail account for 74%, or just over $404,000 of a monthly total of $557,000. Again, there are budget changes in the overtime, and they'll be reflected in the June report as well. And the last item is our temporary wages, which again is significantly less than our overtime, but we did want to be able to show what that is each month for you. I do want to note a third item we will be adding with the fall presentations. We will have a slide to be determined and how it will produce information on the additional food and beverage, prepared food and beverage, 1%, what that is being used for, the 0.5% that is dedicated to our deferred maintenance program of work. And so that will be, the first collections of that will be due into the city in August. So it will probably be in the October timeframe before I have August information that will add a slide, but that is under construction and will be coming out to you. I'm happy to answer any other questions or take a note to bring back some different information.
Questions?
I was just looking at the overtime sheet, and I was just noticing it looks like the sheriff's office. Is there a reason for such a large overspend?
For sheriff. Jail is a large one always at the 103, and then the 2140 sheriff is only at 15,000. Let me see if I'm on the right line. 2140. Yes, it's only the 15,223. So we have two actual, what I call sheriff departments.
Gotcha.
One is sheriff, and that's the court services, and then the jail is providing all the services there. And we track them separately, even though Sheriff Hash is in charge of both.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Lindsay.
you.
I appreciate it. All right, we have several items recommended for action. Item A is the acceptance and appropriation of a donation from the Moose Lodge of Vinton for the rapid engagement of support in the event of trauma reset Champions of Change boxing program. We have one measure and ordinance, and I need a motion and second, please.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Thank you, Ms. Powers and Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance accepting a donation of funds from the Moose Lodge of Vinton to the Roanoke Police Department to purchase necessary equipment to support the Reset Champions of Change boxing program, a mentoring program that works with at-risk youth, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents provide any additional information, and to take any necessary actions in order to obtain, accept, receive, implement, use, or administer such donation, expressing the City of Roanoke's appreciation for such donation, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Just a couple things. We're excited about the donation. There is no matching requirements for this donation, and it will be used specifically to buy boxing gear and equipment. So we're excited about the partnership.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion from council? All right. Mr. Nash?
Are they officially are they in that Norwich space at this point? Have they been able to get into that yet?
No.
I can never pronounce
Norwich.
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 Yeah. Not yet, but we're working towards that.
Okay.
Do you have an update?
Welcome, Chief
Where do you
Booth.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Ms. Turner. So, great donation from the Moose Lodge, and as of Friday, one of our very own captains, Captain Pulley, was over there laying flooring in Norwich, and it's looking really good. So, we make our employees work a little bit extra harder to avoid that overtime, councilman, when we can, but it's looking really good over there, fresh paint, and we were just talking about this before I came down here, probably looking at having some type of ribbon cutting towards the end of the month, and of course, everyone will be invited to that.
Now, does this donation is part of the conditions that you appear in the ring from time to time?
Mr. Mayor, I could take that a lot of places. Who's my opponent going to be? No. We already did the bull riding together. I don't think I'm ready for the boxing.
All right, thank you. It's exciting. And we do want to thank the Moose Lodge. It's a great grant and donation from them. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Aye. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Item B is recommendations of the Roanoke Arts Commission for funding of qualified agencies for fiscal year 25-26. There is one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the ordinance. Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hagan and Mr. Nash. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance concurring with and approving the recommendations of the Roanoke Arts Commission's allocation of city funds to various nonprofit agencies for fiscal year 2025 through 2026, appropriating 2025 through 2026 general funds as detailed more fully infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. I see members of our Roanoke Arts Commission here today. I'd like to have you all stand because were all of you part of the committee? So you all had some hard work to do.
This is our ad hoc members.
And welcome. Thank you all for your hard work on this. I was reading through the list, and as is most often always the case, the requests are higher than the funding that's available, and so I know that adds to the difficulty of the work that you do, but I want to commend you all for your hard work on this. And I know that at the same time that we're trying to grow the Roanoke Cultural Endowment to get to that place where it can work with operating support for all of the arts organizations, the city is continuing to make an investment in our arts and cultural organizations, and I'm hopeful that as we work through some of our budget challenges, we can hopefully add some more funding to this area because there's always a need for it. But thank you all for being here today, and if we have any questions from council, hopefully we can just direct them to you all, right? Okay. All right. I won't put you on the spot, but I just did. So. All right. Thank you all. Any questions or comments from council? All right. Then, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Aye. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your hard work on this. Item C is recommendations of the Human Services Advisory Board for funding to local nonprofit agencies for fiscal year 25-26. We have one measure and ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Powers and Mr. Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance approving the transfer of funding to specific local nonprofit agencies as recommended by the Human Services Advisory Board and amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2025-2026 general fund appropriations as detailed more fully, infra, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Again, I want to take a moment to thank the Human Services Advisory Board. They are listed in the report, the agenda report, so I want to commend them for their hard work. They had a similar challenge related to discerning how best to distribute these funds, and so we commend them for their work. Any discussion on behalf of council? All right. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Aye. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Now I'll turn to our city manager, Ms. Turner, for any comments you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and city council members. I have 3 comments. The first comment is My City Academy, which is a no-cost leadership program aimed at supporting Roanoke's refugee and immigrant communities and learning how local government works and how to get involved. Participants gain insight into city services and community resources designed to improve daily life and build stronger connections. My City Academy begins on July 15th, 2025, offering monthly sessions in collaboration with Blue Ridge Literacy. These will alternate between advanced and post-advanced classes. The program will include presentations from city departments and local organizations, plus field trips and hand-on activities. After that, monthly meetings explore important topics like food security, advocacy, leadership, mental health, adult education, and workforce support. While participants are encouraged to have solid English skills, the program also offers chances to discuss in native languages and access translated materials. Comment number 2, construction begins on Monday, June 30th, 2025, on the highly anticipated Gainsborough Road Streetscape project. This $2.2 million investment will enhance the corridor between Salem Avenue and Orange Avenue with a range of safety and mobility improvements. Upgrades will include high-visibility crosswalks, pedestrian signals, curb extension, ADA-compliant access, on-street parking, and a dedicated mobility track for cyclists and scooter users. A new pedestrian and bicycle detection system has already been installed at Orange Avenue to support safer crossing at this key intersection. Designed with input from the local residents and businesses, the project aims to meet neighborhood needs while enhancing access to nearby destinations such as the Gainsborough YMCA, Washington Park Pool, and the Roanoke River Greenway. Work will proceed in phases led by contractor EC Pace, with full completion expected by spring 2026. Gainsborough Road will remain open throughout the project, though occasional lane closures and traffic delays should be anticipated. Number 3, and final comment. A new commemorative bench has been installed along the Roanoke River Greenway near Hamilton Terrace in honor of Guy Bird, a longtime board member of Pathfinders for Greenways. The bench, donated by Pathfinders for Greenways, celebrates Bird's 30 years of service. A small dedication ceremony is scheduled Monday, July 28th, 2025 at 10 a.m. And that concludes my comments for today.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. We don't have any reports from our city attorney or director of real estate valuation, so we'll move on to reports of committees. Any comments by council members or liaisons to authorities, boards, or committees or commissions on which we currently serve? Mr. Volleson.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate a couple of points that were sent out to my council mates from the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission. First off, I wanted to note two projects that they've completed recently: the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Implementation Strategy, which is a regional look at how we should be updating our charging infrastructure to make sure we're ready for the future. And then the installation of 3 pollinator art bus stops in the Belmont-Fallon target area. That's part of the Better Bus Stops program that we have at the Regional Commission. Just a reminder that right now we're going through our strategic planning, our 5-year strategic planning on the Regional Commission. So if you receive any surveys, please respond so that we can get your comments and make sure that we have a successful planning initiative for the next 5 years.
How long is that survey open, do you know?
I know that we're meeting in August.
Okay.
So it'll be open probably until the end of July.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other council member reports, updates? All right. We'll move on to unfinished business, and we have none. Introduction of consideration of ordinances and resolutions. A resolution approving a revised city council travel policy effective July 1, 2025. There's one measure resolution. I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move to resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan and Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution adopting city council's travel expense budget policies and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of council? Mr. Hagan.
Now, this policy just basically matches what the current city employee policy is my understanding?
Yeah, that was the intention.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Item 2 is a resolution approving the City Council's electronic participation policy. There's one measure, a resolution. I'll entertain a motion and second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nash and Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution establishing a written policy for participation in the city council meetings through electronic communication.
And real quickly, Mayor, this is one that we approve every year. We approved the last one last July. So this is just an update, and we have updated it to the new language of the code. It's a little more flexible than the previous draft. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion by members of council? All right. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title? Will you please call the roll?
Yes, Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Item 3 is a resolution in support of funding for repairs and strategic implementation of the Blue Ridge Rising program along the Blue Ridge Parkway. There's one measure, a resolution. I'll entertain a motion and second.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan and Mr. Volleson. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution acknowledging City Council support for funding for repairs and strategic implementation of the Blue Ridge Rising along Blue Ridge Parkway and authorizing the city manager or designee to take such action as necessary to obtain such funding.
All right, thank you. So this is brought to us through the Blue Ridge Rising program. As many of you know, there have been a number of incidents, weather-related incidents primarily, that have jeopardized the integrity of the parkway. And this is in part some advocacy to the state and federal government to ensure that there's enough funding to make these repairs in a timely manner. While a lot of counties are located directly along the parkway, Roanoke City is really the northernmost city that's located on the parkway, and when portions of the parkway are closed, it does have a significant impact on us and on our region. So I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to support these efforts through this resolution.
Mayor Cobb, if I may, I believe the Blue Ridge Rising had their event at the Hotel Roanoke recently.
It's this week.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this week. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers. Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Item 11 is motions and miscellaneous business, and we do have one council member initiative, and I'm going to turn to Councilmember Nash to introduce his initiative for our consideration today.
Thank you. What I'm introducing in my council initiative form is to transition all of Roanoke City council meetings, board and commission meetings that would occur live on Facebook over to YouTube. YouTube's a little bit user-friendlier, and YouTube also does not require you to have an account like Facebook does. I've inquired with a few older individuals in the community who don't have a Facebook account, and they depend on either looking at the news in the paper, whatever they see chopped up on the TV, or waiting days after a council meeting to watch it on Channel 3. And so I feel like this is one way we can help be a little bit more engaged with our citizens. And YouTube, of course, has advanced closed captioning, translation of the closed captions. So I think it's just a better product for us to use for all of our live meetings compared to Facebook Live. And with YouTube, we're able to create playlists and organize, all the various boards and commissions and council meetings so that citizens can go and right to the playlist, right to the meeting date and watch it. I know sometimes I try to keep up, but it's kind of hard to find them on the Facebook page sometimes. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, first of all, for introducing this and raising awareness about some of the benefits to YouTube. And I think this is being sent to you all to evaluate in terms of any related costs, any
It is, and I'd like to ask Ms. Corbin to come up. We do have a brief update.
Oh, great.
We're already working on it.
Yes, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of council, I would like to let you know that we actually are already working on this transition. I'm not sure if you're aware, but through Meta Business that houses Facebook, currently, if you go back to last month's council meetings on our Facebook page, they don't exist because Facebook is already dropping their live videos after 30 days. And at the end of July, they're going to drop all of them in our history, which is okay because we have them archived through YouTube with RVTV. But we are planning on making this transition to YouTube in August. We do want to give the community enough time to know it's happening for those who follow us on Facebook and watch it on Facebook. But there is not additional cost associated. There is a little bit of back-end work that we need to do to transfer some of the information that we currently have programmed to go to Facebook to go to YouTube, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. I just want to note two things.
Yeah.
One, I had started this initiative form before the YouTube business thing, so I was ahead of the ball.
Yes, you are. Yes, you were.
I was ahead of the ball.
You were.
I was working this back in the beginning of June.
Yes, you were.
But Mayor Cobb, I think it would be in the beginning of our meetings when we kind of we're searching for boards and commission people to also add in once we have a tentative date, saying also, hey, on this date, we will be transitioning to YouTube Live for further council meetings so that everyone who is tuning in on Facebook has ample time to hear that.
I agree, and I was wondering, actually, my only question on this was, because of this 30-day rule, is there benefit for a while? I don't know how long, to live streaming this both on Facebook and YouTube? Is that possible, or is it better to just go ahead and make the switch and then just do all of our social media announcements in that regard?
Well, I think we can still make a lot of announcements through Facebook. They're not taking all video down, they're taking live video down. So if we post a video that we've done about a transportation project or an arts initiative, those are staying. But for things that we're live streaming to the community, those are the ones that are getting taken down. And I think that especially having enough time to let the community know the transition's happening, it'd be best to just go ahead and transition it. Also, the meetings live stream on rvtv.org as well. So if you go to RVTV's website, you can also watch the meeting live through their website as well, which you can do with or without an account like Facebook. So that is also an option.
So, thank you, and to your point, we'll want to make that announcement to both note that the public can watch it live on RVTV's website, as well as YouTube.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll make a note of that. Thank you for your initiative on that.
And that'll also make transitioning the archive into YouTube as well, so you can watch it there live, and you can also go back and replay it there as well. So we appreciate you, Mr. Nash, for being in lockstep with us.
No problem, no problem.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? All right, thank you for that update. It's great news. I did want to note that earlier this morning, I noted that we were going to do a walk-on item related to amending an ordinance on the Building and Fire Code Board of Appeals. I've asked to pull that today so that we can do a little further review, and that will come back at a subsequent meeting. All right, our last item today is vacancies on certain authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. We do have a couple of appointments and reappointments to announce, and I'll turn to Vice Mayor McGuire to make those. And once he makes those, when we're called on to vote, if you would just respond, all nominees.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two today. To the Mill Mountain Advisory Board, we are reappointing for another 3-year term James Davis. And to the Youth Services Citizen Board, we are reappointing for another 1-year term Leonis Cuevas, and we appreciate both of them for their service and willingness to be reappointed.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Ms. Sanchez Jones. All nominees?
I'm sorry. All nominees.
Yes. Vice Mayor McGuire.
All nominees.
Mr. Nash.
All nominees.
Mr. Volleson.
All nominees.
Ms. Powers.
All nominees.
Mr. Hagan.
All nominees.
And Mayor Cobb.
All nominees. Thank you all, and with no further business to come before this council today, we are adjourned.